of America's entire national debt comes due in a single year. Not over decades, not over generations. 1 year. $9 trillion must be rolled, refinanced, replaced, or the system breaks. This is bigger than deficits. Bigger than politics. Bigger than any election cycle. There is no plan to pay it back. There never was. What's happening in 2026 isn't a default event. It's a structural exposure event. A moment where the entire financial system depends on constant refinancing, perfect liquidity, and policy intervention at scale. The danger isn't collapse. The danger is that this becomes permanent. The reason 2026 matters is not the size of the national debt. That number has been growing for decades, and markets have learned to live with it. What changes everything is when that debt comes due. Time, not totals, is now the constraint. Out of roughly $38 trillion in outstanding federal debt, about $9 trillion matures in 2026 alone. That is more than 1/4 of the entire debt stock concentrated into a single refinancing window.
The Federal Reserve just admitted that markets will not buy $9 trillion of federal debt coming due. So what are they going to do? They're willing to turn on the printing machines and print their way out of it. If the markets can't absorb this debt, we're going to have to. Well, what does that mean for the American dollar? If history is a template, it means that the dollar will continue to decline in value. So then, right, the dog's barking. That inflation will not get better. As economist Peter St. Onge points out, the last time the Fed did this in 1940, it led to 20% inflation. When Germany did it in the 1930s, hyperinflation. So it seems like the president thinks that he doesn't have to stop any government spending. We can just sort of work our way out of this. If we work more, the tariffs make more, we'll have more money, we won't feel it. But does it work that way? Joining me to discuss is E.J. Antoni. He's an economist from the Heritage Foundation. What do you make of this? The fact that our debt is so undesirable, so we may have to print our way out of it.
Well, in short, it doesn't have to be this way. Not only because the government could cut more spending. They have cut plenty, but they need to cut a lot more, obviously, to get the deficit under control and then to get rid of it entirely, balance the budget, and actually start attacking the debt itself. But whatever the case, that's just on the fiscal side. On the monetary side, again, it does not have to be this way. We forget that the Fed created really a brand new, a very novel monetary framework in the spring of 2020, partially in response to the COVID pandemic. And that has never gone away. That is still really the status quo today. And it requires these artificially high levels of bank reserves. And as the Fed has been selling off its balance sheet, trying to extinguish money and put downward pressure on inflation, it has caused bank reserves more recently to also decline. And that shrinking liquidity means that this monetary framework that the Fed has built is under a tremendous amount of pressure. And the only way to keep it going is going to be for the Fed to start buying all of that debt issued by the Treasury. And the result of that is going to be a steady upward pressure on prices. And that means you're basically not going to get back to that 2% inflation target that they have talked about so much. It really seems like about 3% is going to be the new kind of structural baseline.